In this podcast episode, host Stephen Dubner delves into the art and science of human influence with expert Chase Hughes. The conversation explores how micro-compliance shapes behavior, the critical role of perception and context, identity's power in persuasion, and the irreplaceable value of human skills in an age of AI and automation. Beyond influence techniques, the discussion touches on childhood programming, leadership authenticity, the nature of consciousness, and the transformative potential of psychedelics. Chase begins by defining micro-compliance, the subtle, incremental agreements people make that cumulatively shift behavior. Using hypnosis as an example, he explains how simple, seemingly meaningless actions create a cascade of compliance without the subject's awareness. This technique underpins how social media, politics, and even cults draw people in by accumulating small commitments. Change and influence, whether on an individual or societal level, often happen through these tiny unconscious agreements, making micro-compliance the foundational tool in influence. A key insight is the brain's instinctive response to novelty. Chase emphasizes that anything novel hijacks our attention, a survival mechanism hardwired over 200,000 years. He advises making changes, such as altering one's environment, wardrobe, or routines, to activate this primal focus, which is a powerful precursor to influence and behavior change. This pattern, novelty driving focus before authority, tribe signals, and emotion follow, is pervasive in marketing and social dynamics, explaining why new stimuli so easily capture human attention. Central to Chase's method is the PCP model, outlining a three-step cognitive process that influences decision-making. Perception involves reframing how a person views a situation, often by acknowledging their point of view before introducing a new perspective, which greatly increases receptivity. Context relates to the environment or situation, dictating what behavior is appropriate or permissible, shaping how people act. Permission is the final element, social license to behave differently once perception and context have shifted. Through examples such as stage hypnosis and business negotiation, Chase demonstrates how altering each stage can radically influence behavior, from everyday decisions to extreme actions. Chase stresses that effective language must resonate, not direct. Rather than commanding thoughts or feelings, language should flow with the listener's existing emotional and cognitive state to guide them gently. This approach avoids resistance and enhances persuasion because it aligns with the person's identity and internal narrative instead of confronting it. Such subtle use of language supports influence in all settings, including negotiations, parenting, and leadership. One advanced influence technique explored is negative dissociation. It involves making observations that indirectly cause the other person to reject undesirable traits and implicitly affirm positive ones about themselves, thus shifting their identity temporarily. This strategy is illustrated by making someone agree covertly that they are open-minded while disavowing closed-mindedness, setting the stage for more receptive dialogue. Influencing identity is key because identity commitments produce deeper and more lasting changes in behavior than mere momentary compliance. Pre-commitments, especially those tied to identity, are powerful tools for influence and self-discipline. Chase cites real-world experiments where people's prior affirmation of support or identity, like supporting safe driving, dramatically increases their likelihood of following through on related actions. He also discusses how pre-commitment helps individuals beat procrastination and reinforce positive behaviors. Making commitments public or tied to one's self-concept magnifies their impact, providing psychological anchors that reduce cognitive dissonance and motivate consistent behavior. Delving into developmental psychology, Chase introduces the childhood development triangle, the patterns of behavior formed around gaining safety, friendships, and rewards in childhood continue to influence adult behavior. People develop scripts based on childhood experiences to navigate social and authority dynamics, which often play out unconsciously in work and personal contexts. Awareness of these enduring patterns helps individuals understand themselves and others better, improving conflict resolution and team management by recognizing the origins of certain responses. Chase advises listeners to confront limiting beliefs rooted in childhood by externalizing and acknowledging them as the protective but outdated strategies of a younger self. Tools such as creating visual reminders that spell out the real-life cost of these beliefs help individuals develop metacognitive awareness, reducing the voice's power. He emphasizes the permanence of these kid voices, but encourages reducing their decision-making authority through conscious recognition and reframing, which fosters healthier adult patterns. Stories and archetypal frameworks shape how people understand and predict outcomes. Chase explains that humans unconsciously slot real-life scenarios into familiar narrative arcs: hero's journey, rags to riches, redemption, which guide expectations and judgments. In contexts like jury selection or leadership, framing events within these archetypes manipulates attention and emotional investment, making persuasion more potent. Identifying the archetype someone inhabits can also guide how to communicate with and motivate them effectively. Chase introduces the concept of the time-distance problem: how far a behavior deviates from norm, distance, and how quickly it needs to happen, time. The greater the behavioral change required and the shorter the time available, the more challenging the influence task. Professionals like interrogators or salespeople must skillfully combine techniques of perception, context, permission, identity, and language rapidly to produce desired outcomes under tight constraints. Offering a modern perspective on mental health and influence, Chase highlights psychiatric research supporting psychedelics like DMT and ibogaine for rapid therapeutic change. Psychedelics don't erase trauma, but transform the lens through which it is perceived, allowing profound shifts in consciousness and mental flexibility. Chase shares his personal experience, describing DMT as revealing an alternate, more real dimension of existence beyond normal waking reality. This expanded consciousness fosters empathy and diminishes ego-centered thinking, both critical for personal growth and connection. Expanding on psychedelic insights, Chase discusses contemporary theories that consciousness may be external to the brain, with the brain functioning as a receiver or filter. He introduces ancient Hermetic principles such as all is mind and as above, so below, highlighting the interconnectedness of reality on multiple scales. This interconnection challenges the illusion of separation between self and others, encouraging empathy by reframing others as extensions of oneself, reducing the moral and social barriers that divide people. In a shifting world where AI and automation threaten many traditional roles, Chase underscores the paramount importance of human social skills, particularly leadership authenticity. He breaks down authority into 3 archetypes: the president, professor, and artist, each carrying different traits but all valid paths to influence. Authentic leadership embraces individual style rather than mimicking others, reducing feelings of inauthenticity and increasing effectiveness. Key traits supporting authority include confidence, discipline, leadership itself, gratitude, and enjoyment. Despite advances in AI, Chase insists that certain human needs, especially belonging and esteem in Maslow's hierarchy, cannot be authentically satisfied through digital or artificial means. He references the rhesus monkey experiments in psychology, showing the vital role of physical touch and emotional connection for psychological health. As society becomes more digital, the demand and value for genuine human interaction, empathy, and presence will only grow. One highly effective persuasion skill Chase shares is helping people feel heard and intelligent during interactions. By presenting ideas incompletely, allowing listeners' minds to bridge the gaps themselves, individuals become mentally engaged and convinced without resistance. This technique fuels acceptance and internalization of concepts because the ideas appear self-generated. Its application spans marketing, law, negotiation, and everyday influence. Chase reflects on the psychological impact of expectations on happiness and achievement, noting how unfulfilled expectations often generate dissatisfaction. He advocates practicing gratitude deliberately and celebrating successes without conflating them with identity. Managing expectations resets perspective and improves well-being, especially relevant for high achievers prone to moving goalposts and neglecting their progress. Chase concludes that as AI automates many cognitive tasks, the irreplaceable domain of humans will be their mastery of interpersonal and social skills: listening, empathy, authentic connection, and nuanced communication. These skills fulfill core human needs and resist automation due to their complexity and emotional depth. Cultivating these real-life human abilities positions individuals to thrive in an uncertain technological future.